episode 2 of the Living Fit series. If you guys are watching this right now, drop a fire emoji in the comments. What I want to do to kick off this video is a comment on my last video was about if I train fasted and what I typically have before I go lift, because I lift quite early. This morning I got up at 3:30 a.m. not for any particular reason, but I just woke up and was super alert. So I figured, why not just get up and go get my workout done early, because I have a very busy day. So usually when I first wake up, I have a coffee immediately, just because it is a habit. I've been drinking coffee for years, and I drink coffee not for the caffeine or to be super alert. I drink coffee simply just because I like the taste, and it's like this, some sort of at least like a mental reminder that it's like morning. And I also just it's one of the reasons why I get out of bed early as well. Like when my alarm goes off, I think about coffee, but I don't drink it for the caffeine benefits at all, because there are better things and better ways to prepare yourself for a workout versus coffee. Coffee also kind of dehydrates you a little bit. And I usually don't finish the full thing either. Like, I just brew a coffee just to have to sip on throughout the morning, and then kind of work on some, I usually sit at my desk and answer some client messages from the previous evening, because I don't answer any messages in the evening, so I can keep, kind of protect my own time. So I've got a full cupboard dedicated to all of my supplements. And I have a few different options in terms of pre-workout, but the last, I want to say 6 weeks to a couple of months, I've been using a pre-workout called Pre-Lift by Rule 1. They're an amazing brand. I just started using their protein. The protein is actually phenomenal. I actually cannot rave about it anymore. I've talked about it on my Instagram a lot, but essentially, just while we're on the topic, this protein is a clear protein. It is like juice, essentially, and this is a cherry limeade flavor, and unbelievable. It's a little bit low, 20 grams per scoop, but of course you can do a scoop and a half to make it 30. You can do 2 scoops to make it 40, and it blends super well in water. Like, it's absolutely amazing. So I just want to bring that up first. But right now we've got option number 1, blue raz pre-lift, and then we have the orange pineapple pre-lift. With the orange pineapple is amazing. And I'll take a full scoop of this before we go to the gym. This is an absolutely insane pre-workout. There's a lot of ingredients based around mental focus and cognitive function. Of course, there's 235 milligrams of caffeine, and there's also electrolytes. We've got 6 grams of citrulline. We've got, there's 40 calories in 1 scoop, because there is, there's 1 gram of carb. I don't know what else actually would contain calories, but there's like lion's mane, juniper berry extract, cocoa extract, black pepper extract, alpha GPC, taurine, beta alanine, all the good stuff. And it's got like a full list of things that some of them I'm not sure if there's like actual evidence that they really do a lot of what they're supposed to do, but I've heard a lot about alpha GPC, Huperzenia. This one's got a serrata moss extract. Sometimes pre-workouts can just go overboard with throwing things in that they feel is going to make you convinced that the pre-workout is amazing. I used to think that about this pre-workout until I actually tried it, but when you actually try a pre-workout and experience how it actually makes you feel, and not only that, but how you perform, then you're like, I like this pre-workout, regardless of if it's full of some things that might not necessarily be backed by any evidence that it could, prove that it needs to be in a pre-workout, essentially. But this is what I start my day with. And you're probably wondering, what about water? Yes. Along with the coffee in the morning, I fill up my water with my Brita filter. So I only drink water from the filter, just because living in the city, I have this weird idea that the water just over time, as time goes on, decades, and they keep refiltering, the same water over and over, I just feel like over time it like builds up with things that it doesn't necessarily filter out. And I've, not that I'm a conspiracy theorist or by any means, but I've heard a lot about like, women's birth control being in the sewage system and different things like fluoride and all that kind of stuff. And maybe I'm overthinking it, but it's really not that big of a deal to get a water filter and drink all of your water through that if you do live in the city. Um, but then again, who am I to say that the Brita filter actually works? So all that being said, we've got coffee, water first thing in the morning, and then about an hour later, it's just one scoop of pre-workout, and then it's literally off to the gym. You know, right now I'm feeling a little hungry because I didn't eat for a few hours before I went to bed last night, and I feel like I'm gonna be fine because it was Thanksgiving this past weekend, so I ate a little bit more than normal, and I actually went for sushi yesterday too with a friend, so I'm not too concerned about not having the fuel. Some of you guys might be like, well, why do you, like, is there a specific reason that I train fasted? And honestly, not really. Like, I only train fasted because it's convenient to just not eat before I go because I like to get my workouts done early for the most part. Um, and trying to fit food in that time frame, but by the time I wake up and get to the gym, which is only like 90 minutes, there's no way I'm going to fit anything in that's going to like give me an energy boost. If I do, which I actually never do, but this is an option, a Rice Krispie square would be something that you could have, something that I could have. Like right now, I'm hungry, probably could have one of these. It's not going to affect my digestion or make me super full or anything and affect my workout. So I could have this just to hold me over. But at the same time, it's like the way I kind of picture it is like that's 90 calories that I'm going to burn in my workout. And I'm kind of subtracting that by eating this. And I'm all about staying lean and just not eating unnecessary calories, even if you are bulking. Maybe you struggle with gaining weight, by all means, then eat as much as you can, as often as you can if you're a hard gainer. But for the most part, like even in your bulking, you don't need to be eating unnecessarily. Try to stick to structured meals and just keep things organized. I'm a very organized individual in terms of structure, and that's the way I like to keep it. And it makes me feel better about my nutrition when it's not just random. When your nutrition's random, the outcome's going to be random, right? So keep that in mind. But yeah, I mostly just train fasted simply because it's convenient to get it done in the morning and there's no time to eat. And not to mention, I don't feel any difference in my performance. Some days, yes, if I'm dehydrated when I wake up. Like sometimes I didn't have a lot of water the evening before. So I can wake up, go to the gym, and I'm a little bit dehydrated. So it's important for me to get my water in the morning. But at the same time, if you're just starting at training fasted, I will say you will notice a difference. Because, of course, there is a difference between training with 2 or 3 meals in your system that you've just eaten throughout the day versus training without anything in your system and sleeping for 8 to 9 hours. There is a difference. But your body adapts to everything that you do. You have to give it time. So if you want to be an early morning lifter and be able to train fasted because you feel maybe there's other benefits that you're looking for, maybe it's like the cognitive benefits of fasting in the morning, or maybe it's the potential ability to burn fat, which I don't really think is all that significant. You'll adapt to it. Your body will find ways to figure out how to energize itself for those lifts, because if you start to lift heavy every single morning and your body recognizes that, it will do what is necessary to get the job done. And that's just the amazing thing about the human body, right? And I kind of contribute that to being, let's say metabolically flexible, your body's ability to kind of utilize different sources of energy and not just being dependent on carbohydrates all the time. And that's what happens to a lot of people, right? Is they need carbohydrates to be fueled and to be energized. And that's just a result of always doing your highest level of activities with a lot of carbs in your system and never doing anything on an empty stomach, right? So I think it's just a good skill to have in general. So let's take some pre-workout and we're going to go we're deadlifting this morning. I'm going to say this really quick. Please, just please, take your pre-workout. There's too many people taking their pre-workout at the gym. Some people are sipping it during their first couple of exercises. That is not ideal. Most labels, this one will literally say, yes, suggested use, 1 scoop with cold water 20 to 30 minutes prior to training. And I guarantee most pre-workouts are going to say the exact same thing. So you might ask, why wouldn't you put it in a shaker and sip on it while you're driving to the gym? Sometimes I do that, but it doesn't kick in when I want it to. I want it to kick in while I'm warming up and getting into my first few working sets. That's when it's supposed to kick in. It's supposed to kick in when your workout starts. So given that my drive to the gym is around 10 to 15 minutes based on traffic, which there would be none right now, it's going to be about a 10-minute drive, and then I have about 5 minutes, 10 minutes to get my shoes on and get into the setup of my deadlift and then start warming up. So the pre-workout's going to kick in when I start warming up, which is exactly when I want it to kick in. This is like a very basic step in making your pre-workout just much more effective. Well, let's say it takes 25 minutes for the pre-workout to kick in. Why would you drink it while you're at the gym getting started and sipping on it while you're warming up if it's not going to kick in until halfway through your workout? I don't know where the idea comes from that like the energy is during the consumption process, but it's not during that period. It is just like food. You consume it, then it digests, and then it kicks in. That's how it works. Dry scooping, in my opinion, is completely fine. Like, if you dry scoop and you wash it down with water, that is the same as you're basically doing that in your mouth of what you're doing in this glass. Like, look how much water I have in here. Like, people were getting so upset about people dry scooping and saying it's not as effective and you need water to activate the ingredients and all this good stuff. I don't know about that. If you dry scooped it, even without water, your body's going to do what it needs to do with those ingredients, regardless of water. But of course, the water makes it taste better. I mean, it defeats the purpose of having flavored pre-workout to dry scoop. I'm not saying I've never dry scooped. It's definitely convenient. Like if you are on the way to the gym and you don't have anything to like mix it with, and you just have your pre-workout, you could dry scoop it, right? And honestly, there's nothing wrong with dry scooping at all, right? Like I just think, like, what's the difference between dry scooping, taking a few sips of water, drinks of water? It's all in the same. Whoa. Whoa. That was freaky. Oh my God. Whoa. It is Halloween. Well, close to Halloween. Okay, I'm getting freaked out. Let's go deadlift. now that the deadlifts are all finished, we did 2 heavy sets at 435 for an, RPE or RIR. I like to go by reps in reserve, which would be 3 reps left in the tank. And this is sort of the 5th week of the progression in my current split with these deadlifts. And obviously we finished off with a lighter set of paused reps, really just focusing on that hardest point of the deadlift, which is, for me at the very bottom when I'm first picking the weight up, because anytime that I have failed a deadlift, it's always been, in the very beginning. It comes a couple inches off the floor and then I get stuck. But this entire workout is a deadlifts and core based workouts. I do have a couple of workouts that I'm showing you here that I feel benefit my overall sumo deadlift specifically, which are the seated good mornings, and I keep my stance the exact same as I would for my deadlift. So I keep my feet planted on the floor, keep my hips exactly where they would be, and I'm really just focusing on strengthening the lower back and increasing range of motion. So keeping my back strong when I'm completely hinged. This helps strengthen the adductors, the lower back, and the hamstrings, and of course the glutes are involved as well. I love this movement, and I'm progressing the weight on this as well. And I didn't do a superset per se, but I went back and forth on my sets between the seated good morning and the seated abduction machine for my hips, because I want to strengthen that external rotation. I want to make sure that my glutes are strong from the outside of the deadlifts. That way they're not the limiting factor. And I think it's important to throw some accessory movements in your workout that are going to help you work on those weak points. And I think these are 2 very important movements for me to kind of progress my strength on. I'm also adding in a core movement with the same stance, right? So I'm sitting on the bench, holding the cable, and I'm just rotating from side to side. So I'm keeping my obliques strong and stable, so that way I can, again, improve my deadlift. So everything I do with these 3 movements are very precise with, specifically improving my deadlift. So we have the glute focused abduction, then we have the lower back and adductor focused good morning with the barbell, which I think is like the best one to do, because you're also getting some core in there as well. And then we have the cable rotations with the sumo stance as well. So that one's solely focused on strengthening the core while I'm in that wide stance position. I have a few more core workouts that I do in this given session. I didn't show them. I'm going to save that for a separate episode, but that's going to wrap up this week's episode. I'll see you guys next week. Thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe.